So, bigger subject, more difficult subject for us in our world today, Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya actually means dwelling in the Supreme Being. Its definition usually is a life of celibacy, religious study, and self-restraint. So, it comes up quite a bit for us yoga teachers. As you know, we get to be in powerful positions. People surrender their lives to us. They will do just about anything we say. It's quite remarkable sometimes. Also in the classes, sexual energy comes in. I think it's more of an issue for the male teachers than for the female teachers. Most of the men that I've met aren't really attracted to the strong Ashtanga woman. They're a little intimidated by it. Rather have us stay as ma. So we don't have too many men coming on to us. But the male teacher has many, many women coming on to them every class they teach. It's quite an interesting phenomenon. So for them, I think it's much more difficult to keep this idea of sexual continence. So I was first teaching with my husband, David Williams, and women were coming on to him in the class. Occasionally a man would come on to me in the class. Also, sometimes, someone walks in the room and I'm like, whoa, really very sexy guy, and I'm sexually attracted to him, or David would be sexually attracted to one of the students. So we had an agreement with each other. If someone was coming on to David, or if he felt sexually attracted to someone, it's very normal to have that happen. He would tell me. Likewise, I would tell him. And we would work with the person. We would switch. So David didn't touch the person that he felt this sexual energy coming from until it was calmed down. Nowadays, because I teach mostly with women, it seems, if this comes up, if I feel an attraction to someone who walks in the door, I stay away from them until I can calm that energy down, because there really is no place for it in the yoga room. I'm not a Puritan, so I don't feel that a teacher shouldn't date their students. I know many of my friends who have married the student they started dating. But when someone takes home a different student every workshop, so an interesting thing, I've often wondered about this, because the word ojas is what is referred to a lot when people talk about sexual energy in the yoga or in anything. So ojas originates in the heart, and it moves through the entire body, and it's the energy that gives us vitality and really brings life to us. Interestingly, for me, I, as a woman, have thought sex does not deplete me. Actually, it energizes me. So remember that most of these things were written for men, by men. So I started to inquire, what is this ojas? How does it affect men and women differently? We all have it. And it turns out that men lose ojas from sexual activity. Women don't. Women have a great reserve of ojas. And as it turns out, it comes because of our periods. That cleanses us and allows us to keep rebuilding each month. And then when a woman enters menopause, she no longer has that ability to regenerate that ojas. But what happens for her, once she's come to the time when she's no longer creating life, no longer able to create life, and she hits the menopause stage, her energy goes towards death and how to approach death. So for me, I know this has absolutely been true. I didn't really think about it, but as I passed through menopause, my focus became very different, and it was no longer the same. So I started to contemplate my own death and how to approach that. And as it turns out, that's what normally should happen, so it's pretty good. But again, I think that we have to remember when we study the yoga texts that it was the majority of people who did this before in India were men. And we're kind of forging a new path. And you look out here, you see some men, but the majority are women. And everywhere I go in the world, except a couple of places, most of the places I go are women who are in the yoga classes now, which is completely opposite from what used to be in India. So as women, I think that the women who've been practicing a long time have a responsibility almost to, we're kind of charting new waters, because things that were good for the men may not necessarily reflect the women as well. So as you contemplate what I've been saying, I think I've often wanted to write a letter to Yoga Journal addressing the women of the world of yoga and point out to them that we are very strong. And when we go to the yoga class and we come on to the male yoga teacher, I have one friend who's an example. He said, the first time a woman comes on to me, I go, no. Second time, no. Third time, well, maybe. Fourth time, he says, why not? So the women have really a huge responsibility to the male person, the male teacher. We really this way. So it's something I've often thought, because I watch and see, as I say, the male yoga teacher has a much more difficult time keeping this sexual continence than the woman. So it's just something to think about as the women